Why do you do the sport, and what is it about triathlon that keeps you interested?
I think the endless pursuit of pushing your own boundaries and wanting to be better and better and better all the time, and I think just the environment of the cooker room, it's super demanding, but it's also exciting when you do all this training and you get better and better and you see those marginal gains and you head into a race and you have the performance you want. It's not a lot of things in the world where you can come into an environment like this and you get the result you want and you have that satisfaction after a race, or if you have a bad race as well. There's nothing kind of like it that really fuels up your belly, and you get disappointed because you didn't hit what you wanted to do, but it fuels you to be better for next time. So I feel like it's just that like endless pursuit of wanting to be better every time is why I always come back.
You obviously won a lot last year. How much time do you give yourself to enjoy the win before you're assessing what you can do right, what you can do better?
I think the failures that I have, I probably dwell on longer than the wins. Once you win a race, we really, I've got a great team around me. We like to unpack it. We like to look at it and what we can do better for next time. Is even though you win the race, there's always something you can improve on. There's always something you didn't do well. So we always go back and look at what we could have done better or how we can attack the next race a bit differently. And, with the losses, there's definitely sometimes a little bit more that you can kind of pick out of it, or whether, you had the best performance of your life and you still lost, and that, the other people just had better races than you, and that also happens. But you obviously want to win every race, so those moments you kind of dwell on for a little bit longer, and that brings more fuel to the fire, and just kind of sits in your mind for a little bit longer, probably until the next race, and you really want to kind of execute it and come over the finish line first.
Which do you think was the best performance last year?
I think all-around performance for me last year, I think the best was, it's hard to know, I really liked how London went. It was really controlled on the run, really controlled on the bike, a relatively controlled swim, but I think overall was probably Marbella, Oropesa in Spain. I feel, front group swim, relatively controlled on the bike, and then having the opportunity to race some of the best runners in the world coming, because it was the first time that we actually, Yella and I, came off the bike together. So to show people that I can get the job done without a 2-minute lead or a minute lead was really satisfying as well. So I feel that was probably my best overall kind of performance.
That's a fair point. And how would you review your full season last year?
I feel I really executed the plan that I wanted to in the T100 series. Of course, there was some races that didn't go to plan and didn't go well, and that was a mix of things that happened last season in some races. But we looked at those and to see what we can improve on. But I was really satisfied with being a debutant season and going into it with kind of a fresh mind. But this year looking, I feel I just have a little bit more experience coming into the races. I know how the racing works. I know how other people race now. I can say that I've raced many of these guys on the short course scene, but to race them in a different sort of format completely changes the racing dynamics. And I think being a little bit more comfortable in the situation of a T100 race now, it just adds to that performance. You're not as, you're not adjusting for position, not as stressed. You kind of know in some way, shape or form how the race will kind of flail out. So you're kind of not as, I guess, aggressive or jumpy at the start of the race.
And obviously you came in, you're quite open about wanting to dominate, win every race, get maximum points, stop other people getting points. How's your mindset shifted this year, and what's the plan?
I feel this year's a little bit different to how last year went. Obviously, the big observation from last year to this year is there'll be less races for the whole series contention. So there is not a lot of room for error in some ways. So for me, I'm only, in reality, I think I'll only be able to get 3 races and plus the grand final. So I can't really mess up a race this time. So with the smaller calendar, it definitely does make doing these races and doing them extremely well in every race and not having a flaw in each race is super important. And even if you did all the races, you've only kind of got one backup where I think I'll be missing one of the races, unfortunately. But yeah, looking at it, you just have to be really clutch and you just have to lock in super early and get as many points and just be aggressive throughout the whole season. You can't really back off too much. Just, as I said, there's no room for error. You don't have 3 or 4 backup races. It's kind of if you have a bad race, you're already on the back foot. So it's super important to just be continuously, in front of the point system in some ways, and getting good points early, I think, is quite important for the season.
You obviously had to double up a few races last year. I think it's fair to say your short course racing suffered as a result of you prioritising T100. Looking ahead to LA, like how are you balancing this year and being successful at both distances?
Yeah, I think a very good thing with the merger of the World Triathlon and T100 is, for me, having the opportunity to dabble in both short course and T100. This year is a lot more, I wouldn't say my calendar is a lot easier. I wouldn't say the racing is going to be easier, but the calendar for sure is a lot more doable. So I'll for sure be going for the T100 title and punting my chance back into the short course heading into LA. So I feel last year you just had with the injury and everything, I had to double up on weekends because when I had the crash, I missed out 2 short course races, which were really important to having a good series. So when you had to do 2 double weekend races, it just it just wasn't probably gonna be the one. I guess it's not really ideal. But with this year, it just definitely changed it up a bit. There's less T100 races, there's more World Series races, and it's a bit more scattered over the calendar, which makes life a lot bit easier. So I feel like it is way more doable this year than it was last year, and I feel that it's only been a year since the injury, and I feel like I'm kind of closer to where I was in the swim side. I feel like I've got a lot of more of my top end speed power back, so that's going to be huge heading into the short course because I guess the 2 different things with short course and the T1 is there's less people in the T100, so there's less less room for error in some ways because you're not facing 60 guys on a start line. There's only 20 guys, so getting into position is a little bit easier in a T100, where a World Series you just have to be on, you have to have that top end speed. So it'll be interesting to see how this year goes with being almost fully recovered and having a little bit more of a flexible calendar.
Just to give context to the crash, talk me through the highs and lows of last year.
Yeah, I guess the massive highs, 6 wins from 7 races was fantastic. Had a great start here in Singapore and was starting again here in Singapore, which was great. And obviously, the lows of having the crash and not knowing whether I could be, competitive again, especially being a shoulder injury. It's, one of the most important parts of the triathlon because you need your arms to swim. So to kind of have that, at a deficit was, of course it's a little bit stressful. You don't know if you can, be within the race, and I feel that sort of injury is, could have potentially impacted my bid to go to the Olympics again, because as I said, you just need to be so on the swim, and if you're just not even, if you're not close, if you're not even 30 seconds, 40 seconds to the front group, it takes a heck of a lot of work to get back to the front of the race. So that was obviously a little bit stressful, but I think last year the highs definitely outweighed the lows, and with the lows, we kind of tried to get at the positives out of what happened and what we can improve on it, and use this as like a building block into hopefully becoming better into the years to come. And it just teaches you a little bit more about yourself in a sense of how resilient you are, but also how the body can recover when you've actually taken some time off.
What was your biggest learning about yourself last year?
I think my biggest learning was probably just taking the time off and relaxing a little bit more and giving the opportunity for the body to recover, I think was super important. I feel like you get into a rhythm where you're just always on, and you kind of really take the recovery side of a back door as if you're just in this spiral of competition, and you want to always improve and want to be better. And I guess the first sense to get better is training hard, and you always forget you should take a few weeks off and actually just fully decompress. So I feel that's the biggest learning I took, was actually taking some proper time out and then letting the body fully recover after a big season, then shaping the pre-season and making that as solid as possible, and then using what you had through that season and putting it into what you can do. So I think recovery was like a massive thing for that.
Your season last year was kind of defined in three separate ways. You came in, although it was your debut in Singapore, as the one everyone was talking about, then it changed into this comeback mission, then it changed into this dominance. What are you hoping the narrative is this year? Yeah,
for me, I really want to come back into this, I guess, series without a question mark on top of my head. I feel I can't really, there's no more, I guess in some ways there's no more excuse of last year. I'm really focused on this year, and I don't want it to be like a recovery story this year. I just want it to be, for me personally, as getting back to business and really, getting prepared for the season. And I think the same goal as last year is, obviously with a different title of, title defence this year, instead of coming in as a debutant, as title defence for the T100, but also, trying to be just be better, and in a sense of how I attack the race, how I look at the race, and just improve improve the details this year, and hopefully that improves me better. And I hope that last year gave the other athletes an opportunity to kind of open the window in the off season and come out strong and really contest up the front. And I hope that there's a lot more battles, because it's great for viewing, but also it's great for me because if to have that competition and to have those real close battles, that's the thing that kind of keeps the fire awake and always wanting to improve. And if everyone else improves, you hope that improves yourself, and when you improve, it hopefully drags the competition up as well. So for me, it's just definitely business as usual, and you get to a start line and you want to be fast and you want to be in contention for the win.
It's often said that the mark of a true champion is how they back up their success. So how does that add any extra pressure onto you, and how you now go about kind of keeping your title?
Yeah, it's a strange position to be in, because I feel it was last year was the year after the Olympics, and I had this whole different mindset focus of doing something new. So for me, last year was just about having fun and enjoying the sport and trying something new, because we were in that Olympic cycle / short course cycle for 8 years, where this was something new, something fresh. So I feel that this year I am kind of heading into that Olympic distance routine again, but I'm still really excited of how the T100 series will go for me again this year. Having only, this is my second year of experience, so having kind of feels like it's still really fresh and really exciting for me. So having that second year of experience, but also still dabbling in two different, it just keeps your mind ticking over a little bit more. And as much as you want to be super focused on T100, you really want to get back to where you were in the short course area as well. So I feel the short course for me has more personal pressure than the T100, because I really, really want to get back and really want to do well in the short course. And then in the T100, of course, I want to do the title defence, but I feel a little bit more relaxed, because you kind of know the process, you know how the racing works, and you know that, you look at your numbers and you're like, okay, I've actually improved from last year already. So that kind of makes you more excited, and that's all you can kind of do at the end of the day, is be as good as you can be. And if you get beaten by the next guy, it is what it is. You can do as much as you want and have the best race of your life, but if it's not good enough to win, I hope that can kind of push me into becoming a better athlete. But yeah, I guess dabbling with the two different series it's an interesting one, and I don't feel as much pressure in this T100 kind of series as I did say last year, because as we touched on, I was the talk of the series heading into Singapore, and potentially like the next big thing, as everyone was saying. So, but I hadn't even raced yet, so there was a lot of pressure heading into that race. Where now it's like, okay, I know how to race, and just got to get out there and let the legs do the talking.
Media last year and whatever it was all about flawless performances and not having a weakness and stuff. But obviously, you don't see that side of it. What have you been working on the off season to get yourself in best shape for this year?
Yeah, I think to get myself into a really good position, it's been a massive focus, I feel, on the swim side. After the crash, I just wasn't where I wanted to be, and even before the crash, I was in a really good position. I was really happy with where I was. Had a pretty good swim in Singapore. Behind, there was extremely fast swim here last year, so just want to get back into that form. And I did see glimpse of that in Doha, but then I really saw the improvements when I did a few short course races in New Zealand and was coming out into the front group, and that really got me excited and really got me, I guess, a lot more confidence inside the water. So it's been a big push there, and we're really focused on upping the power on the bike and being a bit more versatile on the bike, and hopefully getting faster there, or at least just buffering up the bike power to then come onto the run a little bit fresher. So, there's always ways you can improve, but for me, it's definitely been hard work in the gym, hard work in the swim, and then hopefully my swim on my bike and run haven't paid too much tax and putting a lot of time into the swim. So we'll just have to see how this weekend goes. But no, feeling really, really good and really confident in how my training went heading into Singapore.
And obviously you dealt with the conditions pretty well last year. What is it actually like to race in what you'll have to deal with on Saturday? Yeah,
I feel like I've always kind of said it to some of the competitors this weekend, and some of the guys that are new to Singapore, is you kind of can't take this race as like how good someone will be for the season. It's a very like unique course with the heat and humidity. So like you can have an absolute blinder here, or if you go into the red zone too many times, you can just detonate yourself. So you kind of take this race with a grain of salt. And I think it's the people that do extremely well here are the people that just race their own race. It's kind of one of the only real races where it's like, sometimes it's probably not a good idea to actually go with the front of the race. A lot of the other races, it's you go with the front of the race and you just see what you can do, and you can hold on and kind of contend for that win. Where, this race just is just different. Like, it's hot, it's humid, your heart rate spikes a lot, and your heart rate just sits really high on average to the standard series races throughout the year. So I think it's the smarter athlete out there. It's going to be whoever can get the fuel and the water and is doing their own thing, and I think that's the person who's going to come out on top. And as I said, like, you can kind of take this race with a grain of salt on how well you'll do through the season, as it can throw anything at you. Like, it can be hot and humid and really sunny out there, or we can have an absolute heck of a day with big winds and rain showers and everything. So we just don't know until we get into the race on Sunday or Saturday.
I mean, they could argue that you're trolling them, given that both series winners came from winning Singapore last year. And obviously, you're here to win. Who do you see as contenders or potentially a surprise package that's here?
Yeah, it's a hard one because we have some new faces on the series. So, but I think the standard guys, the guys that performed really well last year, Mika, Yuri's shown that he can display a great race here in Singapore. I know he's been in a training camp in Thailand and getting used to the heat. And Jake had an extremely good race in Wollongong, so we know how he can race over the T100 series. And obviously, the big question is how Matt will go as well. Obviously, the current short course world champion coming over, which is really cool, and I'm really excited to see how Matt goes. I think the last time Matt and I raced on the TT bikes was Noosa Triathlon a few years back, and it was an extremely close race between us. So I'm really excited to see how Matt goes, and for me, excited for the challenge to see how Matt will be going in this distance. I feel like he's in the position I was in last year. Obviously, he's got the credentials to be extremely competitive and extremely good, and obviously being a debutant in the middle distance. It's probably exciting for him, probably a little bit nerve-wracking. I've been in the position before, but I hope he brings some of that short course flair and gives it to us at the start of the race, and just kind of hope he has the race that he wants, but also hope he has the race that I think he can have and what the fans thinks that he can have, so we can have a really good, I guess, ding-dong battle up the front. And I hope that the other athletes can come through and be as competitive up the front. As at the end of the day, that's all we want, is good hard racing in the front, and the closer the better for all of us to kind of put everything into the end and see what we can kind of get out of the race.
Who won that Noosa?
I did.
Nice one. That's all we need. Thanks very much.